Well, folks, I'm going to go ahead and begin recording, just so you know. We'll wait just a couple more minutes for a couple more people to get in before we begin our field trip with Zach Perkins, the 2020 Pork Ambassador. So we've got a couple of great pork activities and materials for you to see today. So give us a couple more minutes. Well, folks, it's 9:03, and we're going to go ahead and get started. My name's Kevin Darty, and I'm the Director of Education of the Illinois Ag in the Classroom program. And today we're really excited to have Zach Perkins, and Zach is the 2020 Illinois Pork Ambassador. We fondly refer to him as the Pork Intern, but his official title is the Pork Ambassador. And Zach, I think the first thing first, in your role as Pork Ambassador, you get to do a number of things. And one thing that probably isn't on there is act as a model. So if you would please, if you'd stand up and show everyone your fine t-shirt you've got. And it says, "Bacon never broke my heart." And on the back it says, pork power. So one of the cool things about Zach, and I don't know if this falls under other duties as assigned for a pork ambassador, but Zach, I have a feeling you might be responsible for fulfilling orders for people who want one of those dandy shirts. Is that part of your other duties as assigned?
Yeah, it's one of my duties.
One of his duties. So typically, why don't you explain a little bit about the shirt there, Zach, as we wait on a couple more people to sign in here.
So every year, Illinois Pork Producers does this thing called Pork Power, and they do different t-shirts. They got this shirt from National Pork Board, and we kind of made it our own thing. A donation of $20, and we send it to you. That money goes to different things that we do throughout the state.
Goes through different things, and one of the cool parts that the Illinois Pork Producers was encouraging early on as the COVID-19 shutdown happened was pork was taking donations for a t-shirt to provide ground pork to food banks. So that was one of the ways. And if you'll research on the Illinois pork producer site, ilpork.com, if that right, Zach? I don't have your pork producer site. For ilpork.com, if
You're
you
right.
look up some research, you'll see how the pork producers, not only the association, which is made up of farmers, pork producers across the state, but how they were taking pork into processing and turning that pork into ground pork to provide protein for homeless banks, for food banks, and for homeless shelters, and across the board. Working in some of those activities, you get a lot of canned goods and lots of crushed pineapple, but sometimes protein is hard to come by. So it's one of the cool things that the pork producers have done. Typically, this shirt would have been on sale at the state fair, and Zach would have had the opportunity to be serving you pork chops on a stick and all sorts of things on a stick at the state fair. But due to the shutdown, he's going to be fulfilling your orders through pork producers. So if you're interested in one of those shirts, our link is on the Zoom. Our link is on our blog, where all this information is housed. But as we get started here, I wanted Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the pork ambassador. You kind of have a different route than a lot of other pork interns and a lot of other commodity group interns as well.
Yep. So I explained a little bit in my video, but I'm not from a farming background. My family doesn't farm. Doesn't raise commercial pigs or anything. My family owns and operates a nursery and gardening center, about 200 acres in a small town of 300. I got involved in the pork industry through showing pigs. My cousins, the uncle that married into my family, he raised a couple pigs with his cousins, and then it kind of trickled down to my brother, and then I started showing pigs. So we had to drive 2 miles out of town to work with the hogs every day and train them. Get them ready to show, feed them a little bit differently. But I got involved in pork producers, I think 2015. They put on this trip. It's now called Illinois Livestock Leadership Institute. Back then it was called Illinois Pork Leadership Institute. We went around to different places in the state. We also went to Wisconsin, Indiana. We were going to go to Iowa this year, but the trip's canceled. But now it's a one-day trip, August 5th, and you can still sign up for that trip. The ages is 16 through 22. But that's how I kind of got more involved in the youth, started volunteering for things, and then interviewed for the pork ambassador, and then now I'm here.
And where do you go to school? Tell us a little bit about what you're studying.
I went to Joliet Junior College for 2 years. Then I transferred to Illinois State University, where I'm going to be a senior in the fall here. I'm dual majoring ag business and animal industry management.
Animal industry management. Now, what does your family, who raises the nursery and the plant side, what are they thinking about this and your pork endeavors?
They like it. They enjoy it. They know they like to see me happy and like to see me doing what I like to do. But they don't mind it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but years down the road, they'll probably call me back to the nursery to take that over. But that's not saying that I won't have pigs in my backyard.
Very good, very good. Well, as we go, folks, again, remember to utilize the chat feature. What we're going to do is we're going to show Zach's video, and because our other interns have taken us to their farm. Last week we were in Utah on a farm. You've seen people that are on a farm. Zach had to go hunting for a farm, and when I first got his video, I was a little impressed, because the very first person I see is the president of the Illinois Pork Producers Association, and then Zach's going to interview the president of the Illinois Pork Producers. Then he's going to interview the vice president of the Illinois Pork Producers. So not like anything like bringing out the heavy hitters for the ambassador/intern. So Zach did a really cool thing. So what we're going to do first off is we're going to share Zach's video. So sit back, relax. I will tell you, we had some problems with the audio. At the end, Zach is going to speak over it. It's some really cool graphics, and he's worked really hard on the graphics and what he's showing. But it's not you. It's the video. But Zach's going to provide some commentary. So with that, we're going to share Zach's video. Share the screen. Go to YouTube. It's called Pig Day. Here we go. Make it big. And
Hi, I'm Zach Perkins, the Illinois Pork Producers 2020 intern, and I'm here with Illinois Pork Producers President Dale Wiedekamp. And go ahead and talk about your farm, Dale.
Okay, so I am fourth generation on this home farm where we settled late 1800s, 1887, I think it was. So I'm fourth generation. My kids would be fifth generation farmers here. We have 115 acres here. Mostly we're focused on pigs here. We do have corn and soybean rotation as well. Right now we're looking at the office of a 4,000 head farm. We have 3 buildings, and pigs are in 4,000 head of the 3 buildings. That was when the years of built 2016, about 2,400 head in there. And this is a built 2003, and it holds about 1,000 head. And the other one back there holds about 800 head. Okay, so every day we walk the pigs at least once a day. But when we're not in the buildings, we can monitor. We have alarm systems that keep track of it, and they'll send a message out on our phone in case there is a problem. And then also I can monitor the high and lows of the day and night temperature. That would be right here and here. Also shows us how many fans are on. We have 9 tunnel stages. As it gets warmer, ventilation changes. It may come through the attic where there's warm air, or if we don't want warm air, it goes through the side curtains and you cool it. You also have sprinklers going on. These are heaters, and there's water. We're checking. There's the sprinklers on, if they're on. We're also monitoring water intake from the pigs. That's an good early indicator of when pigs are getting sick. They're going to go quit drinking as much, and then you'll start seeing the feed go down. But tells you, hey, you better start paying attention a little more. Pigs are getting sick for some reason. You might change the temperature in the room, maybe bump it up a little, keep them a little warmer. Pigs will huddle a little bit more when they're feeling sick, but this is also an indicator that something's going through them. You might have to put some water meds in there. We have a whole bank of medicators on the wall here where we can add like aspirin or something to the water. So this also gives us peace of mind. If a fan goes out at night and the ventilation goes down, it's going to call us and say, hey, make sure the generator's running, make sure you have power in the buildings, make sure you have ventilation in the pigs, feed systems are all working. So we can step away from the farm and still know that our pigs have good environments to be in. So it just kind of gives you a schematic of what's out there, temperature, current temperature. There's a set point, it's a warm day. So sprinklers are going to come on about when it gets up to about 78. They're going to sprinkle about 2 minutes out of every 15. The pigs get wet. Pigs don't sweat very well. They'll have good sweat glands, but water will cool them down. Just as we sweat, we basically provide water for them so they can have the cooling temperature, air moving over them, plus the water wetting their skin, and that's pretty effective on pigs. So that's that on that. There's 3 barns on here. One's east barn. It doesn't have much controls on there, but it does have the fans on there. And the heaters. There's the west barn we just looked at. And south barn. Shows the heaters. There's a couple different kinds of heaters in there. There's a temp probes up here. I can go back in. There's what's happened today, where went cooler in the morning. There's temperature right now, high and low. So you do a lot of things with these controllers and see where you've been throughout the day. case there was a problem. So we have a daily record. We walk the barns. If we have to, we record the high and low temperature of the day as you saw on that monitor earlier. So we have to permanently record that on a daily sheet. Here's how much water they drank last Sunday. Goes down through the month. Here's our inventory. If we sold any, somebody died, or we had to pull one out, we can change that. That's the barn. We have 3 different barns here. We have a sheet for every barn. On the second sheet, we have if we had to give them a treatment. I gave 3 injections a day. This is the injection. Different kind here. Down below, we have how much you give per 100 pounds. And then you also have withdrawal time. So certain medicines you can't use. You have to have a withdrawal before you take them to market. You can only use it for maybe 5 days prior. So some of them are like penicillin. You have to withdraw it, I believe, 60 days before you market them. We have water medicines. We have that. We haven't had to do any water medicines for a while. So we have the different. Exceed is one. I've been using that. Lincoln, I've been using that. And these are the medicines we can use. There's another one we use. It's under other. So they're all listed there. That's basically on that. We can also water medicate pigs or give them a vaccination through water, through meds. So I have water in here right now, and I'll dissolve medicine or vaccination in there. It'll be like a biological. And I can go through the water lines and treat the pig, the whole barn that way. So you hear it clicking now. It's sucking through this hose, and then that distributes through the water, and then gets to the pig line that way. So it's a quicker way to get feed in, medicine in, through the feed. It goes through the water lines, and it's there within, half an hour or so. The pig will start drinking it. And that way you can do everybody. What I showed you before, that's an individual injection every day. If I have to do medicine here, I'll write that down on a chart as well, and what day. So. Okay, so the feed drops down here. These are flex augers. Feed comes from the tank, drops down in here. There's one on the end, got a controller, a little switch that shuts the last one off. So we have to have pigs down there to feed out so the rest of these get filled up. But first one gets filled up first. Drop down in here. Feed drops down on the shelf right here. And the pig moves down around, and they can eat off of here, or if it drops down here. Plus there's also water here, so they can kind of make a gruel out of it and mess around with a little bit. They tend to grow a little better when they have the feed and the water together. Plus there's cup waters over there in case there's somebody over here eating a feeder. They can always go over here and get just straight water. So there's about 12 pigs per feed space here, and this building holds about 1,000 head. When we go through a group, we let it idle for a little bit, wash it up, and bring the next group in. As for biosecurity reasons, say the old pigs, they had some, maybe they had scours or some kind of disease. It's just to give it a disease break, clean it up, disinfect it. Sunny day like this, you let some sun in here, kill some germs. That way the next group comes in here, maybe a week break. They're in a more sanitized building, and they have less disease challenge.
Hi, my name's Titus, a pig farmer from Elkhart, Illinois, and I'm Vice President of the Illinois Pork Producers Association. We are located at one of the finishing barns that we have with my father-in-law, Dave Conrady, and Lisa Conrady on our farm, Tri-Pork Incorporated. And this building behind me will house about 900 animals, and we'll fill those when they weigh about 40 pounds or so. And so this barn provided an opportunity for us to build a facility at our home place here to continue our flow of production from our farrow to finish farm about 4 or 5 miles away. So behind me, you'll see one of the rooms we have inside of this building. It's 101 feet wide and it's only about 60 feet long, so it's a little bit more of a hobby barn in the grand scheme of things whenever you begin to think about some of the facilities that you see. But it works for us, and that's what it's about. So we utilize 4 bulk tanks at this facility where we'll utilize feed lines to feed those animals, and each pen has 2 inline feeders and water cup drinkers. And at the back of the barn, there's some big fans, and so we tunnel ventilate this facility so the air pulls directly through the building to help cool those animals. On hot days like today, we also utilize some misters and dripper systems in different barns throughout the farm to help keep those animals cool and comfortable throughout those summer months. On our farm, we also raise purebred Chester White and Yorkshire show pigs. So we'll raise and sell pigs all across the nation for young 4-Hers and FFA members to exhibit at their local county fairs and state fairs. Additionally, we have a lot of young kids on our farm. I have 2 young daughters, Reagan and Lakin, who are 9 and 5, and my nephews as well. We have 3 nephews that all enjoy showing animals. And so we're just getting to that age where our kids can exhibit and show and be in 4-H at our local Logan County 4-H show, and additionally be able to show a state fair. And so the difference between our commercial operation and what we do with our show pigs is the show pigs are fed a little bit different type of diet than what our commercial pigs are. They're based more for efficiency and growth and things like that, where the show pigs are being fed a little bit higher protein type of feeding, so they can develop their muscles a little bit differently and have a little bit more appeasing appearance whenever we do take them to the show ring. So in these pens, we've got pigs that are born about March. And so these pigs weigh roughly anywhere from 75 to 100-ish pounds. And these pigs will be geared for shows in September. So the feed that we feed a little bit different in these pens. So usually whenever we're caring for these animals, it's more on an individualized basis because each pig needs something a little bit different. It's just like thinking about your dietary workout plan or your diet plan there. I mean, every individual, every person has a little bit different type of makeup what comprises their diet. And so it's the same way with pigs, where one might need a little bit more muscle in its diet, or protein and muscle in its diet, or another one might need a little bit more fat in their diets, or fiber, or different things like that to help bring out those best attributes of those animals. So whenever the kids do exhibit pinnacle fairs, they're competitive and they're able to have an enjoyable experience.
Biosecurity is very important at hog farms. What I'm wearing right now is kind of a standard issue. It's a cloth thing that I have to wear over my clothes, and then I have these plastic booties to protect my shoes. Each farm is very different depending on the size and the amount of animals the farm has. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of Lysol to make the farmer more comfortable, and other times, like at sow farms and confinement buildings, you have to shower in and shower out. Biosecurity is one of the most important things at hog farms, and they're very well practiced. Even before COVID, hog farmers have been about biosecurity and making sure everything's clean outside of the barn and inside the barn. Today I'm at the farm where I raise my show pigs at. On this farm currently, there is one boar, which is a male pig that is able to have piglets. A couple sows, 8 to 10 sows on this farm. A sow is a female that has already had piglets, a couple gilts, and a couple barrows. The gilt is a female that has yet to have piglets, and a barrow is a male pig that is unable and is castrated, and he is unable to have piglets. This here is a Duroc gilt. Lydia here is going to show them at county fairs and whatever fairs they have this year, if they do have any fairs. So difference with show pigs and confinement, we tend to walk the show pigs every day so we can train them and teach them how to properly walk. It's one of my favorite things to do. I grew up showing pigs. I wasn't born and raised in confinement. We used to come out here at 5 in the morning, start walking the pigs, go to work at a job 8 to 5. Then after the day's work, we'd come out here back at the barn and walk pigs all over again so we can train them and keep them loose and let them just enjoy the outside in the grass and let pigs be pigs. I wasn't raised on a farm. I grew up in town, so I had to drive 2 miles out to the family friend's house where we could raise and train our pigs.
So with that, I'll stop sharing. Thank you very much, Zach. And nothing like your boss saying, "Hey, let's go to the president of the organization and talk to him." And then to follow it up, we'll go to the vice president of the organization. So, Zach, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and kind of as you're getting ready to return to Illinois State, there's a huge emphasis as you're getting ready to go back to school, and as our teachers are getting ready to go back to school, about everything being clean. And one of the things I think that we see in the you see in the video, and teachers you might not have been aware of, was the amount of cleanliness that goes into pigs. And then secondly, for teachers, documenting with data. So Zach, why don't you talk a little bit about the biosecurity? You were a little hard to hear in your biosecurity suit, but talk a little bit about showering in and biosecurity.
Yeah, so pork producers, pork farmers, they've been practicing biosecurity and keeping everything clean way before everything went down with COVID and everything like that. So if you noticed right away when I was with the president, I was kind of wearing a different suit than what I was wearing at my at the barn where I raised pigs at. That suit I was wearing, I had a shower. I came to his house. I walked into his barn. I took a shower, stripped everything down, and they had that suit waiting for me on the other side. I put on that suit, and then once I left that barn, I showered out. So I changed out of that suit and went back to my street clothes. Farmers have been doing that for biosecurity reasons because they don't want diseases coming in and diseases going from farm to farm. And after all the pigs, when we were with Dale in that empty barn, after all the pigs left, he pressure washes it, cleans it, sanitizes it for a week, like you said, and then the next group comes in because we don't want transfer of diseases going back and forth. Keep the pigs nice and healthy, just like humans have been doing the past, well, it's supposed to be all their lives, but it's basically been past 4 months.
Right. So, and I think that's just one thing for our teacher audience to realize. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I know your school boards, I know your communities are worried about what back to school looks like. Imagine bringing anyone in, showering out, keeping that bubble secure. And that's a really, really important thing. And then you noticed when at the president's house, at Mr. Wiedekamp's house, when they had a barn that was empty because they'd sent those pigs onto the next stop, onto the next station. And they cleaned it up. And they spent a lot of time cleaning it up, like you said, letting the sunshine in, letting everything air out, making sure all of that was good and taken care of. So from our teacher perspective, again, we can learn a lot from our farmers because we're going to keep everything clean. Secondly, teachers, you remember, document. These folks are not just, they're letting pigs be pigs, but they're also making sure that everything is charted, everything is documented. And I'm just amazed at the technology that's available. So at the touch of his computer, onto his phone, wherever things are at, everybody has access to the information, real-time information. And next, you went on to the vice president's farm. We went on to Tom Titus's farm. He takes pigs in from different places. You want to explain that process of where some pigs start and as they move on? Why don't you talk a little bit about that, Zach?
So the interesting thing about Tom Titus is the vice president. He kind of had both operations. He had a Dale Wiedekamp, the first guy, operation, and what I grew up with was showing hogs, which is not a lot of people do that for biosecurity reasons. But he has them in separate barns all the way across his property. I don't know how many acres his property was, but it's not close, and he has different biosecurity reasons. For the show pig side, he's got a different barn on one side, and those show pigs go to different fairs. The last 3 pictures I had, it was just the show ring and the pig showing. That was a underground show pig we had probably about a month ago up by me. And those pigs come from different farms to go to different places, and they can contract diseases and everything. And then they come home and they're kind of isolated depending on the farmer. away, they're isolated with each other in a separate barn. So the diseases don't cross over and over. And Tom Titus would wear different clothes from one barn to another, shower in, shower out, and things like that. So disease is a major thing that farmers worry about and think about every day.
Again, I think that you just go back and look at some of the things that we're hearing in the general population farmers are dealing with. Self-isolation, social distancing, keeping the pigs in their herd, keeping them all together. But once something gets into a herd, it's hard to take care of. And even the technology that Mr. Wiedekamp showed us using, how they can apply medication, chart it carefully, make sure they know where everything is, but medicate an entire building. Another part about that is different barns and different stages for different stages of a pig's life. What happens during that? Teachers, you're familiar with that as well. You might be a second grade teacher. You might have some third grade readers and some first grade readers, but you're a second grade teacher. You pass them on to third grade. You try and get everybody to where they're supposed to be, and you pass them on to areas that specialize in access. The other points, taking care of pigs, access to food, access to water, access to proper medical records. I think those are really important. I didn't know that there were waterers inside the feeders. I mean, I knew there were waterers in the feeders, but I didn't know the pigs like to make gruel. So I guess pigs will find out what they're eating. On the Wiedekamp farm, he also talked about he has some corn and some soy. Why don't you talk a little bit about pig diet, Zach?
The pig diet's mainly made up of corn and soybean meal, grinded up at a feed mill, and then they add a bunch of different additives, lysine, whatever they want to add to it. They can add some medication to it. I know on the show pig side, they can add medication in the feed, so you don't have to give them a shot or anything. It's just another way to keep the pigs healthy. And the way he does it, farm to farm, it depends for the nutrition. It depends on the nutritionist, depends on the stage of the game they're at. And that's completely different from the show pig side. Tom Titus was kind of explaining there's a lot more that goes into it on the show pig side because they're bred and produced and shown a completely different way and raised a completely different way. It's just the difference of the industry between the commercial side and the show pig side.
Right, and with that, that whole idea of a diet for all pigs, it's really important. And when you talk about things that they're adding, specifically additional nutrients, vitamins, nutrients. I got up this morning and took a couple vitamins. It's what people do. So to make sure that you're getting those, you're getting the complex part. And Tom Titus shared that really well, I thought, with different people have different dietary needs, and they're working with their pigs to make sure that can happen. That can happen. Let's talk a little bit about the nutrient cycle. This is a big part. We talked about it with Haley and Mackenzie, but you get a lot of pigs in a confined space, and the pigs are eating and drinking, so poop happens, right? So let's talk a little bit about that, and then I want to show something from the pork nutrient cycle from the National Pork Producers. But Zach, you want to talk a little bit about manure management on a hog farm?
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed that empty barn, there's little slits in the ground. They're called a slat floor. Pig feet, they won't fall on them. They won't get stuck or anything like that. The manure falls to the ground, and then as pigs walk around, they step on it, and then the manure goes into a pit. It's usually around 8-foot pit. And then the farmer can pump that out whenever they want, depending on the year. They can put it on their fields. So they reuse that manure and put it on their fields. They can sell it to different farmers, use it on their own fields, do kind of whatever they want with it. So it's very environmentally friendly. Farmers use what they want to use to help out the environment.
Right, and I do want to show this video because it's an important part, this manure management and what happens to it. And from an educational perspective and your science standards, as you're talking about this is the nutrient cycle, but it's also, we call it the nitrogen cycle. What happens to this? So I want to share this video from National Pork. Let's see if I can get there. Go back to this. Escape out. cartoon. Nope. I want to go to another one. So let's go here. Nope. No. There we go. We're going to go to the nutrient cycle. Here we go. And it's just a 3-minute video from We Care. And you'll see this.
More than a decade ago, the pork industry agreed upon a set of ethical principles under a sustainability umbrella called We Care. Today, we continue our commitment of ethical and responsible practices to consumers and stakeholders. Understanding the nutrient cycle in pig farming helps understand the benefits of using a natural product to help increase soil quality and enhance grain production, providing the key elements of pigs' diets. Pigs eat feed. There's a natural cycle in pork production. Pigs consume feed, which results in the production of manure. This nutrient-rich manure is used to fertilize fields, which produce grain turned into feed. Grain provides essential nutrients and energy, key components of diets fed to pigs at all stages of life. Pig manure is applied to fields. By using manure as fertilizer, organic matter is returned to the soil to increase productivity for crops turned into livestock feed. This valuable asset maintains and can increase crop yields while improving the health of soil. Manure contains useful quantities and a significant mix of essential nutrients, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, as well as secondary nutrients, sulfur, calcium, and magnesium. Because manure increases organic matter levels in soil, its application enhances soil's water-holding capacity. Plants grow and produce grain. Using continuously improving techniques and technology, pig farmers apply manure to fields to feed plants. When injected using precision tillage, manure is placed in the soil where nutrients are needed most. Manure management programs include soil sampling, GPS tracking, and other tools to assure appropriate quantities and placement of manure during application. Grain is used to make feed. Grain harvested from well-tended and nutrient-rich soil become the foundation for livestock feed. The quality of grain directly impacts the quality of feed and consequently animal performance. And then the cycle begins again as pigs eat feed formulated with grain fertilized by manure. Pig farmers are happy to drastically reduce the need for commercial, petroleum-based fertilizer by supplying a natural waste product with significant benefits in a sustainable system. We Care. America's pork producers maintain a commitment to continuous improvement of responsible production practices. The We Care commitment represents pig farmers' responsibility to the industry stakeholders and consumers they engage with, and actively promotes ethical and responsible practices at each step in the pork supply chain. We Care also includes a commitment to the environment, evidenced in the nutrient cycle.
So I'll stop sharing that. And following up on our lessons on Tuesday, our lessons were about sustainability, and that again, I think that's a great segue to what we're talking about today. That three-legged stool of environment, of society, economic, how it all goes together. And from a teacher perspective, that's the nitrogen cycle. That's part of what happens, and we can add nitrogen. It is a naturally occurring element, but we have to commercially produce it in order to do this, or we can add manure. So pork farmers taking care of that. We got a couple questions in the chat feature. Zach, first let's go back and let's have you talk about the pork. Let's talk about pork donations. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, let me go to how much was donated. The year of 2020 already, we've already donated 46,000 pounds of ground pork. And since this whole thing's been started about a decade, a little more, around 821,000 pounds have been donated. And in 2019, we donated over 100,000 pounds of ground pork. And our goal this year, again, I believe, is 100,000, maybe even a little bit more. Yep, our goal is 100,000 again, and we're hoping to exceed that goal.
So by buying a shirt from the pork producers, getting that dandy bacon shirt, that helps pay for the processing to deliver that to food banks and to people that need it. What question here? Are there rules about the number of pigs per square foot or per feeding station? And what about inspections of the barns? Are there inspections, and how does that happen, Zach?
The rule of thumb is for space in the pen is if a pig can't walk around fine, if he can't eat or drink, then there's way too many pigs in the pen. And it's kind of eyeball, depends on the barn size and the spacing. The other day I helped put around 250 hogs in a pen of piglets, and then they'll probably be downsized to probably around 150 as they get older. But if a pig can't lay down comfortably without getting walked on or messed with, then there's too many pigs in the pen. It just depends on the size of the hog as well.
The size of the hog and the temperament. Now you and Haley and Mackenzie can kind of get in fights about which animal has the nicest temperament and who gets cranky and that kind of stuff. But teachers, it's kind of like you. There is no ideal class size. And as a former teacher, there were some classes I had of 7 or 8 that was 2 or 3 too many. And there are also classes that you can have 40 in a class, and if you get the right kids, the right makeup, it's fine. But again, depends on it depends on the size of the pig, what's going on with the pig, kind of their temperament, where it happens. How about inspections and that aspect of we care and how farmers, specifically for your case, pork farmers, are monitoring themselves and taking care and making sure everything's working well?
Yeah, so that also depends on the farm. Vets usually come out once a month to make sure all the pigs are looking okay. And when you shower in and shower out, there's a sign-in sheet for guests and who has been in the barn. So you can put who goes in and outside the barn. But your boss, if you're a contract grower, you own the building. Somebody else owns the pigs, and they kind of lease the building from you. So they're kind of your boss, and then they can check in whenever you want, make sure things are going okay. You can text them if you want, but if you own the barn yourself, there's like the We Care Act. Nobody necessarily checks on you for the We Care Act if you're kind of your own farmer, but usually have your vet come out at least once a month to make sure pigs are looking okay, if you have any questions about the pigs, and things like that. So there is people checking on your barn, making sure you're doing things right, making sure the pigs are nice and healthy and are growing okay. It's not like, go ahead.
No, and again, just like we talked about with dairy, that aspect of testing. Mr. Wiedekamp talked about if you don't want to give animals injections. Your goal is to have clean, healthy pigs. Everything goes perfectly. If something does go wrong, you have to take care of it. But you monitor and document. Teachers, you're going to get used to that too. Who's in your classroom? When did they come in? That's what the school nurses are working on right now as we're going through this. So again, I think you're going to see a lot of parallels between what's been going on in pigs and what we're dealing with right now during this situation, trying to limit the spread of any kind of disease. Precautions taken to protect piglets from a mother pig who becomes aggressive with her babies. How do farmers take care of that, Zach?
So they are called farrowing crates. The mom pig, she hasn't given birth yet. She might be a gilt at that time, or she might be a sow. She's already had a couple litters. So they put her in a farrowing pen a couple days before she starts farrowing. We track that when they were bred, how many days out, was 114 days out for gestation period, and then they go in the farrowing crate. And then in the crate, they give birth in there. They're there for 21 days. The piglets are, the mom pig and the piglets, and then the piglets are weaned. During that time, there's gates, so the mom pig can't roll on the pigs or sit on them. There's room for the piglets to run around and kind of stay away from mom. One precaution we use is on a mat in a corner away from the mom pig, from the sow. We feed there, we have some water there, and we have a heat lamp there, so the piglets want to stay away from mom unless they're getting milk from their mother. Just another precaution so the pigs aren't laying under their mom pig, don't get stepped on, laid on, or anything like that. Coming from the show pig world, we've used farrowing crates, and we also use just a pen, just a regular pen, I think a 5x5 pen, and we had a little corner cut off so the mom could not go in that corner. We had a little corner for the piglets to go to rest at night and have a heat lamp. Kind of encourages them to sleep away from the mother. Some mothers are mean, kind of depends on the pig, and some, I have seen it before, some moms will attack the babies because they just don't know that it's their babies. It's just a mom pig thing. But yeah, those are some of the precautions that pig farmers take to protect the piglets and to protect the mother as well.
So to protect both, that was a great question. In one of the videos in the We Care thing, you saw the little piglets and the mother. You could kind of see the gated bar that was protecting the mother from actually rolling over on the pigs, or kind of they're close, but not too close. I mean, it's not like a physical barrier that they can't see each other. They don't have any access, but it's just to protect, like you said, to protect both of them. Right. So with that, we'll continue to take questions in the chat feature. But another interesting aspect of pork is byproducts. So typically when we're thinking pork, and we've talked a lot about ground pork, we're talking about, we're talking about donations. We've got Zach in his bacon shirt. But there are a number of other byproducts too. And Zach, why don't you talk a little bit about byproducts and pigs and what you've seen with that? Oh, you're on mute, Zach. Gotta unmute.
There it is. If any of you ladies are wearing lipstick, there is some pig in there. There's a whole bunch of different things. Shaving cream, soap, makeup, baking goods, crayons, I believe, adhesive, fertilizers.
Right, exactly. So specifically anything with an oil, and then we also can't forget leather that's there. One other interesting fact, and I'm only going to show a little bit of this video. I'll show a snippet of the video. It is linked on our blog site, but it comes from one of my favorite books, and it kind of looks like a Bible or a hymnal. It's called Pig 05049. Pig 05049. You will not be winning this book. It retails for like $65, and I paid extra for the pig leather cover and the ear tag. But this is a phenomenal book, and it's based on a TED Talk. And I want to show you just a segment of that TED Talk she is from the Netherlands, but it's talking about pigs everywhere. So let's go to this screen, and I'll share this. Share. All right, so I figured out how to do this before. So we're going to go to Christina Minor-Damata, and it's called How Pig Parts Make the World Turn. So here's a portion of this TED Talk.
Hello, I would like to start my talk with actually two questions. And the first one is, how many people here actually eat pig meat? Please raise your hand. Oh, that's a lot. And how many people have actually seen a live pig producing this meat in the last year? In the Netherlands, where I come from, you actually never see a pig, which is really strange, because on a population of 16 million people, we have 12 million pigs. And, well, of course, the Dutch can't eat all these pigs. They eat about 1/3, and the rest is exported to all kinds of countries in Europe and the rest of the world. A lot goes to the UK, Germany. And what I was curious about, because historically the whole pig would be used up until the last bit, so nothing would be wasted. And I was curious to find out if this was actually still the case. And I spent about 3 years researching, and I followed this one pig with number 05049 all the way up until the end, to what products it's made of. And in these years, I met all kinds of people, like, for instance, farmers and butchers, which seems logical. But I also met aluminium mold makers, ammunition producers, and, well, all kinds of people. And what was striking to me is that the farmers actually had no clue of what was made of their pigs, but the consumers, as in us, had also no idea of the pigs being in all these products. So what I did is I took all this research and I made it into well, basically it's a product catalog of this one pig, and it carries a duplicate of its ear tag on the back. And it consists of 7 chapters. The chapters are skin, bones, meat, internal organs, blood, fat, and miscellaneous. In total, they weigh 103.7 kilograms. And to show you how often you actually meet parts of this pig in a regular day, I want to show you some images of the book. You probably start the day with a shower. So in soap, fatty acids made from boiling pork bone fat are used as a hardening agent, but also for giving it a pearl-like effect. Then if you look around you in the bathroom, you see lots more products like shampoo, conditioner, anti-wrinkle cream, body lotion, but also toothpaste. Then so before breakfast, you've already met the pig so many times. Then at breakfast, the pig that I followed, the hairs of the pigs, or proteins from the hairs of the pig, were used as an improver of dough. Well, that's what the producer says, it's improving the dough, of course. In low-fat butter, or actually in many low-fat products, when you take the fat out, you actually take the taste and the texture out. So what they do is they put gelatin back in order to retain the texture. Well, when you're off to work, under the road or under the buildings that you see, there might very well be cellular concrete, which is a very light kind of concrete that's actually got proteins from bones inside, and it's also fully reusable. In the train brakes, at least in the German train brakes, there's this part of the brake that's made of bone ash. And in cheesecake and all kinds of desserts, like chocolate mousse, tiramisu, vanilla pudding, everything that's cooled in the supermarket, there's gelatin to make it look good. Fine bone china, this is a real classic, because the bone in the fine bone china gives it its translucency and also its strength in order to make these really fine shapes like this deer.
So I need to stop. I need to get back to my screen and stop this. All right, so escape from there and go to my Zoom. And so I really like the book because it talks about all of the additional byproducts of where it comes from. Sandy mentions Little House in the Big Woods, Chapter 2, Hog Butchering. That's a great place to start and talk about that. Laura and Mary are so excited because they get to use the pig's bladder to make a ball. Really, seriously, they make the bladder. So what do we still call the inside of a ball the bladder? That's where it came from. They were making soccer balls back in Little House in the Big Woods in the 1890s up in Wisconsin. Zach is an ag business major, though. As an ag business major, one part that she brought up here, and we didn't really talk about in any of your videos, though, was exports. And as an ag business major, pork and pork exports are a huge part of the Illinois pork of our pork farmers. You want to talk a little bit about where our pigs go that we don't eat here, and a little bit about that, especially since we just had a big deal, kind of a big deal yesterday, July 1st, with USMCA going into effect.
Yeah, a lot of the pork exports go to China, and a lot go to Mexico. A lot of pork, they're different things. They both eat different parts of the pig that the United States doesn't eat. But the top two are China and Mexico, and we send a lot to Asia. Not necessarily Europe or the EU. It's mainly Asia and North America. That's where we send most of our pork at. So when all the trade deals are going on and it's not good for pork, or it's good for pork, it does hurt home Illinois pork producers, because we do export a lot of pork, and we keep some in the States here, but we do export a lot of pork. That's where a lot of the money comes from. If China doesn't want pork, the markets show that, and the pork producers will get hit by the market with pricing.
And it's also fascinating too that when we're selling pork to China, it's not just competing with bacon and pork chops. Other countries consume different parts of the pig that we don't. Again, so any kind of trade deal, it's important. And then let's link that back to, okay, so Pig farmers, not a lot of them. Typically, you know, there's fewer pork farmers than there are corn and soybean farmers, but those pigs eat a lot of corn and those pigs eat a lot of soybeans. So anything that we can do to increase pork exports, pork consumption, helps all of our farmers in general. So Zach, we got just a couple minutes left. Anything else you want to add from pork and your stance as the pork ambassador?
If you have any questions at all, don't be afraid to call Illinois Pork Office. Ask questions, ask pork producers. Most of them are willing to talk because they want to explain what they're doing. Pork producers and agriculturists do get a bad rep for some odd reason. I don't know why people don't like agriculturists, but if you have any questions or anything, don't be afraid to ask a farmer. Most of them are more than willing to explain what they're doing. Some of them might even bring you onto their farm. I'm the intern, but I've called a number. I've been to around 10 or so board of directors. They've all brought me to their farms. I've talked to them about the pork industry, questions about different things. I'm not from the confinement side, like I said, so I asked them about confinement buildings and the differences and things like that. Pork producers want to explain what they're doing and they enjoy what they're doing. That's the main thing. They enjoy everything.
Right. There's a good question about hundreds of pigs in a barn. You know, that's one thing that we did see. There are some pigs, and Tom has those, but there are some videos that Pork has with overview. I'll just share that sometimes that's hesitant for pork farmers. Not everybody wants to see that. So, you know, it happens with hundreds of pigs in a barn, but that's like, sometimes that's just that's a touchy subject, but there are some pictures of that. That's a great question, Lori. With that, pork producers on your website, ilpork.org, ilpork.com, sorry, ilpork.com, phenomenal resources. The We Care stuff that I just showed you with the nitrogen cycle, other interviews, and the Illinois pork producers are also a part of Illinois Farm Families. I'll make sure and add that to the blog as well. But check out Illinois Farm Families. We're doing a feature. We're taking tomorrow off, but Farmer Fridays. So follow Illinois Farm Families on Facebook and on all of your social media channels. Look for them at watchusgrow.com, and you'll see that. Also, don't forget our pork resources. Illinois Pork Producers sponsors our Illinois Pork Ag Mag that's available. A number of the same features that are there. We've got pork readers, our young readers. Breeds. We talked a little bit about breeds as well, and those are more for the show pigs and the differences between the breeds, just like we talked with Black Angus for cattle, for our Illinois Beef Association, and Guernseys and Jerseys and Holsteins with our Dairy Association. There are a various number of breeds. I'll leave you with a couple of books too. Those are on there. Pig 05049 by Christina Manure. This is a really good book. We also really like the Anderson and Buggy book. Susan Anderson and Joanne Buggy, Pigs and Pork and ABCs of Pork. The ABCs book, this is a really good one because it walks you through all of that and contains a number of the byproducts as well. One of the books, not all of the books, one book that we're giving away is one of my new favorites. And Zach, I've got a copy of this coming for you. All right, it's called Everybody Loves Bacon. So bacon is the main character in this book. And of course, another great book is by Teresa Bateman, is called April Foolishness. April Foolishness talks about, it's a great look at all products from the farm to how they're actually used. This would be a great activity for our younger readers, K through 4, April Fool's Day, talking about how it's all implemented. And I also included a link to the National Pork Producers book, Welcome to Our Farm. This is an older copy. They do have a new copy online right now, and you can download it for free, but it's a view of the farm. It's a view of the farm from the National Pork Producers Association. So some of the things, some of the pictures included in this include that those farrowing crates and the waters and the feeders. But yeah, I think you'll really enjoy that. And Lori, that would give you an option to see that as well. And I also have the link to the bacon shirt. If you want to keep Zach busy and help pork producers continue to give ground pork to food banks across the state, there's a chance for you to get that bacon t-shirt. With that, again, thank you very much, Zach. Appreciate your time. Really impressed. You went right after the heavy hitters, like I said. Nice job. So with that, folks, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to fill out the review for a chance for prizes. I was in the office. I am in the office today, and I cleared out a number of prizes. And later on social media, we'll be posting the people who've won. And if you haven't received your prize already, I just stuck 7 more in the mail today. So with that, thank you very much. Next week, we're taking a look at history. Tuesday, our features are on Illinois history and U.S. history and agriculture, where that plays along. And then our field trip next week, we're going to the museum. We're going to the Decatur Staley Museum, the Staley Museum in Decatur, home of the soybean capital of the world. We're going to talk a little bit about soybeans, and maybe you'll learn a little bit more about a professional NFL football team with that. Again, Zach, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Teachers, enjoy the holiday. Zach, what are you grilling? What's your favorite pork product you'll be grilling this weekend?
Pork burgers.
Pork burgers.
Chops and bacon. There's going to be a lot on the grill this weekend.
Lots of pig. Good for you. Yes. So everybody, thank you for joining us, and y'all have a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.